Right, we have just finished Sonic Colors Ultimate, so I guess it's time to give the awkward hot takes and thoughts and all of that other fun stuff for the game. This is fresh off completing it. Let's talk about some issues and some highlights. First issue, there's this weird thing where the first time you boot up the game, the first act you go into has an awkwardly long load time. You'll notice that this load time takes for fuck ever, and it's going to continue to take for fuck ever, and also Sonic will load in not. The opening for Starlight Carnival Act 3, I think everybody's talked about that right now, but yeah, no, there's some weird load times in this game, and some weird slowdown, and weird lag, and all kinds of other weird stuff that should not be in a 10-year-old game that is simply being ported over to multiple other consoles and other stuff like that. Aside from a bunch of weird slowdowns and stutters, actually managed to stop encountering glitches by the time I got about halfway through this game, which is good. But let's actually do this in a bit of an organized fashion. Let's talk about the bad, because I know that most everybody here is here to hear about that, and then we'll talk about the good afterwards. First of all, let's talk about the music in this game, and how much I suck, and how much I have to rely on tail saves. But let's talk about the music in this game. So, you guys can't really hear the music in the game right now, and, you know, that's because, for some reason, I can't actually record music with my OBS. But I am glad that every act in the game has its own unique music, but there are some points where the music is less than desirable. Planet Wisp, as an example, I'll actually move to footage of Planet Wisp now, because that will be better to talk about it. But in Planet Wisp, the entire idea of this level is that you are supposed to be in an area that is... This is the planet the Wisps come from. This is where they are supposed to live, and this is an area that Eggman has encroached upon. This is a place where his technology is currently in the beginning throes of taking everything over, whereas in the other planets, he's already fully taken them over. Now, the music in Act 1 of this game, in the original, had this almost somber undertone to it. Like this was a planet that, again, was in the beginning throes of being taken over. The music, it's easier to describe if I were able to play it, but the music in this level, in the Colors Ultimate version of the game, that melancholic tone is gone. This is almost celebratory, which is fine for most of the levels in this game, because they're supposed to be amusement park levels. But in this game specifically, or in this level, this is not a level that should have those kinds of, you know, celebratory undertones in at least in Act 1. The first time you're being introduced to this level and what Eggman has done here. It kind of... It doesn't ruin the experience, but it's a very weird thing. And a lot of this stems from the fact that in this game, we cannot play the original soundtrack. That's not a thing we have access to. That's weird, considering that other Sonic games, other remasters in general, let you do stuff like that. Final Fantasy X's remaster allows you to use the original MIDI soundtrack instead of the new orchestral one if you so choose. Sonic CD, the Christian Whitehead remaster, allows you to switch between the Japanese and American soundtracks. This game forces you to play with the new remix soundtrack, whether or not you actually want that remixed soundtrack. If that's not a thing that you care for, that sucks to be you. That's what you get in this particular version. I've also heard that apparently if you don't have the digital deluxe version, you actually don't get the Planet Wisp extra act tracks. I'm not 100% certain if that's true, but that is a thing that I've heard from other people where this game is concerned. Now, on top of that, let's talk about another issue that is specific to this remaster, the amount of glitches that people have been encountering. I know that there is an issue where people have been using Nintendo Switch emulators, Yuzu, and they've been basically lying about the glitches that they've been able to encounter. But then afterwards, almost all of the glitches encountered using the Yuza emulator were found in the Switch game anyway. They are just harder to trigger in the original, because I guess there are more redundancies that are not really there in the when you're emulating it. For anybody who's ever emulated games, there's a lot of artifacting and weird issues that crop up when you're playing on them. Things like scan lines being showed and stuff like that you're not really used to seeing all the time. Emulation's a hell of a drug. But let's talk about versions of the game that are actually available for people. There are plenty of glitches in this game. It feels very rushed, which is weird considering it's a 10-year-old game. But, again, after a certain point in the game, it's either that I stopped encountering these glitches or I actually got desensitized to them. I'm not 100% certain. There are some issues, though, with the original game that are not present in the remaster. I could get into nitpicks about other issues where the remaster is concerned. I really could, like how Sonic's lighting is kind of weird compared to everything else, but really, none of that stuff really changes this game for me. It doesn't affect the game for me in the slightest. There are things that I kind of noticed in early screenshots, but not really now. But now I kind of want to talk about Colors as a game. This is a game that I played when it first came out, when I was 18, but now we're about a decade removed from that, right? And I can actually look at this game with a little more of an objective eye. When Sonic Colors first came out, it came off the heels of Sonic Unleashed, Sonic 06, and Shadow the Hedgehog. If you weren't playing the handheld games, which if you weren't really a Nintendo person or had access to a PSP, then you weren't playing any of the handheld games. You were playing games on the console. There are a lot of people, including myself, that really felt like Sonic had been done dirty in games like Shadow the Hedgehog and games like Sonic 06. I'm not going to do the whole Sonic had a really rough transition into 3D spiel that, every reviewer ever does. When Sonic Colors came out, it was a game that people were anticipating. I remember there being a review specifically that said that, hey, Sonic Colors is something that I am looking forward to more than Sonic 4. Because at the time, we were also going to be getting Sonic 4 on mobile platforms, PC, on the Xbox Live Arcade. Colors was a game that people were really, really looking forward to. And when they played it, people loved it. Like, just flat out. If you look at the earlier reviews for Sonic Colors, 8 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s. Like, this game was being celebrated all the time. But let's talk about what it really is. It's Sonic Unleashed Lite. What does that mean? Well, in Sonic Unleashed, we had daytime stages that played functionally similar to what Color stages do, but there are a couple of key differences. In Sonic Colors, most of these stages, as you can probably tell from the footage that's playing right now anyway, most of this stuff takes place in 2D. And if you are here to play one of the greatest 2D Sonics of all time, well, you're not going to be getting that. This is a fairly mediocre 2D Sonic. The 3D sections of the game are fine for the, 1/10 of the game that uses the 3D sections. Now, the very beginning of the game leads you to believe that there's going to be a lot of 3D because it opens out with you playing in 3D. Charlie Jones, thank you very much for the subscription. But the beginning of the game makes you feel like you're going to be playing a lot more in 3D, and then as you actually play it, most of the game is 2D. I would say that almost all of Aquarium Park is 2D, because every time you go underwater, it forces itself into 2D, and that is basically the water level of the game. If that's a thing that you like, cool, I guess. But for everybody who celebrates Sonic Colors as one of the greatest 3D Sonic games, it's not. Because I think calling this a 3D Sonic game is not really the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't make any sense to me. Also, that is a lot of freezing. That is a lot of stuttering, Sonic. You could maybe do without all that stuttering. Jesus. This is not really a 3D game. This is a 2D game with a handful of 3D sections. Other people have said similar, but if I were to never say anything another person has ever said ever, then really I wouldn't be able to say anything. There's not a whole lot about Sonic Colors that hasn't been said by other people to begin with. I could say one of the negatives is the story in the game, but honestly, it's harmless. It really is. Pontac and graph writing is cringy. It's not the greatest in the world. I don't like it, but at the same time, it's really harmless as a one-off. The only problem with Sonic Colors writing is that we kept getting more of it after Sonic Colors. I think if it was just with Sonic Colors alone, it would never have really been that much of a problem. But I guess the next thing that I really need to bring up where this game is concerned, there's a Rival Rush mode in it that was brought in, and it feels really tacked on. I literally just avoided dealing with any Rival Rush shit throughout my entire playthrough of this game, because it's basically just a ghost race. It's the ghost races from Mario Kart in a Sonic game, and I just can't bring myself to care. I know that there's issues where it looks like a PNG whenever you see the opening for any one of those races. I really don't care about that terribly much. That presentation is bad. I would like to see stuff like that improved. But I'm also not too terribly concerned when it's for a game mode that I'm never going to play, and I just don't care about. Just like there's special stages in this game that you can access when you collect a certain number of red rings. Those I don't care for either. I'm not going to be playing through those levels. I'm never going to be trying to unlock Supersonic in this game. I'm really not. I know that there are people who are going to be doing so, and they're going to get more and more frustrated as they try. I did not go for Supersonic in the original, and I don't plan on going for Supersonic in this game either. Now, there's a couple of things that happened where the daytime stages of Unleash are concerned that didn't happen here. In the daytime stages of Unleash, not only are those more 3D than sections in this game, but they're also a little more free with what they allow you to do. What do I mean by that? Well, in Sonic Colors, if you want to drift, you must be in a drifting section, and you must be clicking the drifting buttons specific to that drifting section. If you want to spin dash, you can only do it when you have a red wisp. If you want to travel along a path of rings, something that you've been able to do in many previous Sonic games with no problem, you must have a hover wisp. Specifically, if you want to use the quick step from Sonic Unleashed, you must specifically be in an area where the quick step is programmed to be utilized, despite there being multiple areas in the game that could have really used the quick step, but you just didn't have access to it. The quick step also was set to only be used with your analog stick. That's kind of an issue. Not gonna lie, like, the whole reason that the quick step was usable all the time in other, especially in Unleashed, is because it was mapped to the L and R buttons, but you don't have that mapping here. From what I understand, you can't even really change that mapping. You're just kind of stuck doing it exactly the way that the game wants you to do it, which doesn't make any sense when we do have the ability to change control options. It is 2020. We should not be stuck with whatever weird-ass control scheme this game wants us to use. Also, that was a very weird death there. I know this whole thing seems really rambly, but this is literally just my fresh thoughts after playing through this game again. I feel like a lot of the flaws in this game I was able to ignore when it came out, because the only game that I was playing a lot at that time, or I was playing two games at that time. I was playing Sonic and the Black Knight, and I was playing the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed, a game that I had revisited its levels for the daytime stages repeatedly, like constantly, going back and revisiting the daytime stages because that was what was giving me the joy of that game, trying to S-rank all those levels, trying to unlock everything where those levels were concerned. And I thought that I would be getting a lot of that same feeling with Colors, but then I didn't end up trying to 100% Colors the same way I tried to 100% the Wii version of Unleashed. And it wasn't until playing through the game again now with fresh eyes that I understand why I did not try to revisit this game. It's not that it's a bad game. It's that it's a tedious game. I guess the best way to explain it is when I'm playing a Sonic game like Generations, or Adventure, or even Sonic Heroes, there's an elation I get when I'm playing it. There's a feeling of joy that the game is giving me as I'm running through. When I'm playing Sonic Colors, the feeling I get is, I want it to be done. Like, there's not a whole lot to the game that's making me super excited to keep on going. I think it's because it's such a stripped-down version of what we got in Sonic Unleashed that I just don't feel the same way about it that I do about games like, again, Unleashed. I wish that the footage that I captured wasn't so stuttery. That's kind of agitating that it's not really being captured very well there. But most of that is because I was capturing that footage while streaming on OBS, while streaming using Streamlabs OBS. So, I guess that would probably be why that footage isn't working too terribly well. But, you know, the really, really ham-fisted controls, the forced controls, and the simplified controls, I'm not a big fan of those. The story, I didn't mind it when it was new, so I'm not going to really judge it much now. I'm just upset that we got more of this type of storytelling later going forward. Level design in this game. I think that there are acts in this game that are fun, and there are acts in this game that I can't stand. This act here on the asteroid coaster is one of the acts that I could not stand. I feel as though a game that is crammed with this many levels, it makes sense that I wouldn't like all of them, but some of them, it's not that they're difficult or anything, it's just that they're frustratingly designed with really, really cheap deaths built in. A lot of that comes down to the fact that this game was designed by Dimps, and Dimps has a bit of a history with putting in cheap level design. But it's not really anything you can avoid. A remaster is not going to change the fundamental level design of the game. So that's not something I'm going to fault Blind Squirrel Entertainment for. That's something that I'm going to fault the original game design for. Also, where Blind Squirrel's concerned, I know there's a lot of people who want to get mad at Blind Squirrel for the tacked-on stuff that was added to the game, the weird bugs that are in the game, the strange graphical glitches that really should not have been in any version of the game, let alone a game that touted itself as Sonic Colors Ultimate. But don't get mad at Blind Squirrel. They handled the BioShock remakes for the Wii. They know what they're doing. They are a competent game developer. When it comes to remastering older stuff for newer hardware, they can do that job. They can do it just perfectly fine. The people I think you should be blaming here are Sega. Sega are the ones with the track record of having their developers go through a rush dev cycle to try to get things done. Which means that I'm not super happy about what we're going to... I'm not super excited for Sonic Rangers anymore, because I feel like even when they hand a game to a competent developer, Sega will still do everything in their power to fuck over the development of that game. But I'm not going to just keep on complaining about Sonic Colors. I'm not. Because there is something else that I want to point out, and that is that at the core of this game is something competent. It is a mildly competent 2D Sonic. Sometimes it feels like it has sections that would be brilliant for a 3D Sonic game. There's a lot of very pretty spectacle in this game. And again, the story is not the worst thing in the world. I really actually did enjoy the story the first time around. You can get upset at kiddie stories in Sonic games, but at the end of the day, this is a game about an indigenous race of aliens that were enslaved by by a crazy mastermind who, in another story, would have enough money to do the things that he does, but Eggman has never been shown to have plenty of money in this game. Or really any time in the franchise, from what I understand. Money isn't really talked about in the Sonic series all that much. But Sonic Colors is not a bad game. It is a competent game. I think the problem, though, is that it's only a competent game. And Sonic used to be one of the biggest franchises that Sega owned. It was one of the most important things that they had. But it's almost like they don't care. And that not caring... Going back and revisiting this game, it feels like a lot of that not caring was still there during Colors. Colors feels like Sega trying to have themselves a Mario game without putting the time and effort and polish into what we understand Mario games to be. That's like the one thing that Mario games are known for over and above anything, is that they are incredibly polished pieces of entertainment for whatever era they happen to have come out in. Colors does not feel polished, nor does Unleashed, nor does Sonic Forces. Really, no Sonic game feels very, very polished. And it's almost a miracle when any of them come out doing very, very well. And I hate saying that, but the more I revisit Sonic games, it feels like there's an era where there was a passion behind the character, and then there's an era where it's gone. I feel like the classic era up to about 06, and maybe Sonic and the Black Knight, and Unleashed. Like, those are the games that feel like they really, really cared about Sonic, his universe, the way the games came out for the most part. Like, that's when it feels like there's a lot of love in those games. Now, granted, there was not a lot of polish in most of them after the classic era still. That has not really ever changed. But seeing the effort and love from the company put in, that seems to have disappeared. And I know that this is supposed to be about the Sonic Colors remaster, and I've kind of gotten on the tangent of Sonic the series on the whole. But replaying this game has reminded me of all of those feelings of ill will. And it's not for a game that I hate. I don't hate Sonic Colors, nor do I really hate the remaster. It's just not a competent remaster. I'm also reminded of one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and had I been working with notes or something, then I would have gotten to it during the cons section, insofar as there are even sections here. I really don't like how sticky Sonic is. I know that there's going to be some weird pervy people who take that the wrong way, but when you are jumping with Sonic, there's that chance that you will try to hug a wall to try to wall jump off of it, and he really shouldn't. I feel like Sonic is not Mega Man X for a reason. And this wall-hugging stuff, it feels like it really screws with the platforming. But you can have rushed games that are fun. You can have rushed games that are good. My favorite Mario game is Mario Sunshine. And that game is a rushed mess. But I really want to get to the point where Sega as a company are not rushing their games. I want to get to the point where they're confident enough with their character that they can take an extra year of development on games for this franchise so that we can start getting competent pieces of media. Every Sonic game, for the last decade at least, has been good to mediocre, or in some cases, just bad. I would say Forces is pretty bad, Generations is pretty good, Colors is mediocre. I would say that Unleashed is really subjective. It depends on who you are, but I think Unleashed is at the very least a game with a lot of passion behind it. And it is still one of my favorite Sonic games, regardless of the version that you happen to be stuck playing at any given point in time. I want to see a return to Adventure-era Sega. I don't necessarily need Adventure-era Sonic games. I really don't. As much as I would like a return to those stories, I want a return to a Sega that cares enough about its character to push boundaries with their character. To give us Sonic games that I'm going to want to replay for hundreds of hours. The first thing I feel when I finish playing your game should not be relief that it's over. And that's what I feel with Colors. And the Colors remaster didn't do anything to change that. If you loved Sonic Colors originally, you'll probably be at the very least okay with the remaster, despite the things that are really messed up with it. If you didn't like Colors, the remaster is not going to change your mind on that. If you don't like Sonic games, well, nothing's going to change your mind there. So do you think Colors is a lot more polished than the adventure games? I really don't see it. I really don't see it. There's so many little things that just feel awkward with Colors. And I don't get that same sense of the adventure games. They're still unpolished. They are still unpolished games. Colors feels less polished to me, though. But that's just me. I might not have the best, idea of what makes a game more or less polished. But I know when a game feels rushed. Colors did not feel rushed when it came out to me, but playing it now, there's all kinds of little things that I just feel like could have been changed. And could have been improved upon in a remake, or a remaster. And they weren't really. But I guess final verdict, because I have been rambling on a lot, and this is a very rambly episode. I normally would try to have a more focused episode, and I may do a more focused Sonic Colors episode later. But as of right now, I just finished this game. I just want to give my thoughts, as they are there, fresh in my head after just finishing the game. I don't know if I'm going to be replaying this. I don't. And that's weird, considering that this is a game that I loved 10 years ago. I don't know if the reason that I'm not going to be returning to it is because I don't like Colors as a base game anymore. Maybe my feelings towards the game itself have changed. I don't know if there's something about the remake that is souring it for me. I'll probably end up going and returning to the Wii game eventually to see what my actual thought processes are there. But for right now, whether it's the original or the remaster, I don't know if I actually like Sonic Colors anymore. And that's a weird thing to say when this is a game that I used to really love. But maybe 10 years apart from the initial playthrough of the game, things change. I've played other better games, and my opinion on Sonic has moved from, well, at least it's not as bad as having to play through the worst parts of Unleashed to get to the best parts of Unleashed. Now I can just play kinda good parts of Unleashed and just in Sonic Colors mode. I think I'm just kind of past the point of wanting Sonic games that give me a passable experience. I kind of want a good experience again. And I think it's unfair to say, well, at least we got it with Mania. Because Mania is a different monster altogether. Mania is a 2D Sonic game made by a team of people heralded and held by a fan who know what they want from the Sonic franchise. I have not gotten that same passion and love where 3D Sonic is concerned, or in this case, 2D Sonic with 3D models is concerned, in a very long time. And that's kind of sad. That's kind of sad. I don't want to be the person that tells Sega, oh, hire fans. Fans are not always going to fix the problems with your game, and fans can't agree, especially in the Sonic community, on what they want. But I am going to be the person that says that I want to see passion in these games again. Colors feels like it's in that weird middle ground where the passion was being lost. And then by the time we got to Forces, it was just gone. like, completely gone. Hopefully, though, going forward, maybe we'll get something different. I do not have high hopes for Sonic Rangers now. Not because I think Sonic Rangers will be a bad game based on the premises of it. Most of my feelings are because I just don't have faith in Sega. And that kind of sucks. I may not like several of the business decisions that companies like Nintendo do, but I can at least have faith that when they make a Mario game, the Mario game is going to be a fucking stellar experience. But where Sonic's concerned, I don't have any of that confidence. With Sega, I admire several of their business decisions. Their ability to allow fans to utilize their work without having to deal with copyright hydras. Their, the way that they operate, literally hiring Sonic hackers to build out things like Sonic Mania. The way that, like, the IDW comics are being handled. Like, all the stuff like that right now. I am enjoying. I like. But the core games that we're getting, I'm just not a big fan of. And replaying Colors hasn't changed my opinion on that. All it's done is made me think that those problems existed earlier than I realized. I'm tired of rushed games. I'm tired of mediocre games. I want Sonic games to be good because they can be. Literally, just yesterday, the second chapter for the Project 06 mod was released, and we're seeing what would have happened had a dev team had enough time to sit there with Sonic 06 of all games. Where that game is not the butt of the joke. It's literally showing that it was a competent game all along that was just really screwed up in the dev process. I'm really hoping we go back to having good Sonic stuff. I really do. So, I know that this began as my thoughts on Sonic Colors Ultimate, and this has morphed into my thoughts on Sonic as a character and a franchise and a mascot for Sega and the ways in which he's been utilized and mishandled. I know it's become a huge rambly rant. So hopefully y'all can tolerate this huge rambly rant, and we'll go to more focused videos in the future. With that said, this has been a lot. Thank you guys for sitting here and listening to all this shit. As always, everyone, insert into video tagline here. Where I give real-life updates to what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, stuff that you don't really get over here, and even on Twitch. Patreon also helps the channel's stability a whole lot. Without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Especially with the kind of content that I do, neither YouTube nor Twitch are the most stable sources of income. If you are a $20 and up patron, then you will be featured on the ending slides as shown in the beginning of the end credits. If you want to catch the streams where all this content comes from, then consider heading over to Twitch and following. And if you want to continue watching over here on YouTube, maybe consider clicking one of the end screen videos. And once again, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me over on my channel. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything that I'm doing over here on YouTube without each and every one of you. So, thank you.